Welcome back to the channel, and in this one we're going to be doing a continuation of this. So if you followed the video that I did on this one, I created this using all 2D. So this is going to be a follow-up to this video by creating this all in 3D, so you can have something to use as a comparison. Alright, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so when I'm creating this, the first thing I have to look at is how am I going to create it, right? What steps am I going to use? How am I going to divide this up? Or am I going to build on top of it? The way that I'm kind of looking at this and saying, hey, what's the fastest approach to get me to the solution would be to take a look at this view here, and if I can create this shape at the bottom half of this, and I'll kind of show it to you on this view, but I can create this bottom half here also with this line coming down to here. That'll knock out a good 70 to 80% of this drawing. Now what I'm talking about is that if I create a line, and let's go ahead and make this color of this line a different color, and if I draw a line going from here, and let's go ahead and stop it at this location here. Okay, I'll turn the ortho on. There we go. And if I create this portion here, then that's a good 70, I would say, percentage of it, right? So if I create that portion first, and then I'll create this block here, this block, and then I'm left with this kind of donut shape here at the front. And once I put all of those together, then it should be simple enough. So looking at it, I can see 4 distinct shapes that I can use in order to create my isometric, right? So I'm going to click the plus icon here, and we're going to start off by creating that. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and turn the grid off. Let's go ahead and make sure we got our ortho turned on. And we'll check my running O-snaps that I have on. Okay. So let's start with the line command. Let's go straight across at a distance of 100. I'm just going to escape out of that command so I can zoom out. Alright, and we're going to kind of work our way around up here on this, right? So we're going to go this line here. I'll go up a distance of 10. I'll go to the left a distance of 10. And then I have to figure out how far to go up, right? So let me escape out of this. And if I'm referring to this drawing here, I'm at this location here. Okay? Now, the math of it should be really simple for us. If we got 45 on this side and we subtract the 25, that should leave me with 10. And if I subtract another 10 that's located here, this distance should be 10. And I can verify that by using the distance command. So if I just go to measure, and I go, and you can see it highlighted on the screen now that that is indeed 10, right? Okay. Let me jump back to where was I? Here. Alright, so I'm going to draw a line. I'll go up this direction, 10. And now here I go again. I have to do a little bit more math to figure out where my next point is going to be. And let's go ahead and take a look at the drawing here. So what I'm trying to calculate now is how long this line is, right? So let's go ahead and do a little bit of math here together. So we know the overall length here is sitting at 100. Let's subtract these two ends off of here. So that gives me 20 off of that 100. That gives me 80, right? So I know that this distance here is not 80, but I just have to subtract this last 10 off of it, and that should give me this overall length here, which should be 70. Once again, if I do a measurement on that line there, you will see that it will calculate that for me, and that distance is indeed 70, right? All right, so back over here to the drawing. And let's go ahead and get back into the line command here. Let's shoot straight across a distance of 70. Then I have to calculate the height. Well, that's directly on the drawing. That's going to be our 25. We're going to go to the left here, a distance of 10. And then we're going to go down this direction, a distance of 35. I'll come this direction 10, and then finally down here, or back to the original point here. So I'll click that endpoint. Right? So if you want to go through that again rather quickly without me jumping back and forth, it's simply going to be a line going this direction at 100. Let's go up 10. Let's go to the left 10. Let's go up 10. We're going to come back here to the left, a distance of 70. And then we're going to go up a height of 25. To the left 10. Down 35. To the left 10. And then C to close. Okay? So that's just me doing it rather quickly with all the numbers. And I try to give you both ways of where I'm actually calculating the math out. But we're going to go ahead and delete this one. And I want you to join this together. So I'm just going to highlight it first. Underneath the modify option, I'll choose the ones with the two arrows facing each other. That's going to be the join command. And now you can see that 10 objects were converted into one polyline. So that's what I want to see. Okay. Now for the next part of this, I have to figure out how to create this kind of wedge part that's on the inside of here, right? I know the math of it, and it should be really simple to calculate. And we can see that the overall height of this thing is at 25. The distance is simple enough to figure out. So from here to here should be whatever this 40 is minus a 10 here. So that's going to be 30. And so we got the height. We got everything we need. So going this direction, I'm going to go 30. Then I can go up a distance of 25. And then I can just connect it. All right. So in here, I can do this one with the polyline. So let's use polyline. Let's click here. Let's go to the left, a distance of 30. I want to go up a height of 25. And then I'll just type in C to close. All right, so that's my shape number 2. Let's go ahead and create another shape that I'm going to need. And this one should be a little bit more easier than this shape. We're going to do this one with the rectangle command. So I'll go to rectangle. I'll click my first point here. I need to give it a distance and a height of where my other corner will be. Math should be really simple, and it should be exactly like this last piece we did. And as a matter of fact, I can use that last piece, and I'll show you that we can indeed use that one. But the math of it is just going to be simply 30, comma, and then the height is 25. And that should give me the rectangle. If you didn't know or you didn't want to do the math on this one, I could have also used the rectangle command, clicked at this endpoint, and then just touch that endpoint here, touch that endpoint, and then bring my mouse up to where it intersects here. And then just simply move this one away. Okay, so these two are exactly the same. Just giving you another option to use this one. Now we have one more shape that we need to create, right? And it's kind of a compound shape, but we're going to create a couple of circles with diameters. So I'll go to circle center diameter. I'm going to click here, give it its diameter, which is going to be 30. Go back to the circle center diameter. Place the center of this one right at the center here. Kind of give myself a preview. And this one has a diameter of 24. Okay, so now I have almost all the shapes that I need. And I just now saw down here at the bottom that these actually should be at angles, right? Now, I did join this together, so I could select it and explode it, which is going to be this icon here. Go ahead and draw a line going from that end point to here. Likewise on this other side. And then you can go ahead and erase this. Now, I could have kept those squared off as well and fixed that actually when I made the 3D solid. But in here, in this case, I'm just going to do this at least steps as I possibly can. So I'm going to go ahead back and highlight this again. Go back to the join command. And then I make sure I read at the bottom. Now I have 8 objects that is converted into one polyline. All right. Now we're ready for the fun stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do is switch this over to an isometric view. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this from 2D wireframe to a regular wireframe. Okay. Now we can start extruding some things and getting these shapes created. The first one, let's go ahead and switch over to 3D AutoCAD, and thought I did that here in the beginning, but I'm just going to select this fly up here and use the 3D modeling tab. Alright, we're going to give it a couple of seconds and the ribbon should be changing any second now. And then we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. Okay. So I'm going to use the extrude command. It looks like it's hanging up on me just a hair. Okay, maybe it didn't take it. Try that one more time. So I'll go back to the extrude command. There we go. Let's go ahead and select the object that I want to extrude, which is going to be this bigger object first. I'll go ahead and select that. Enter. Now I got to tell it the height of which direction I want it to go. So I'm going to send this going down at a height of 50. Alright, these two shapes are going to go at a height of 10. So I'm just going to extrude. I'm going to select both of these shapes. I'm going to go down and give it a height, which is 10. And then I'm going to select these two objects here. I'm going to extrude these two and give it a height of 5. Alright. So now before I do anything, you know that these two are still combined, so I need to subtract. So I'll go and use the subtract function first. Select this outside one first, hit enter, and then select the inside. Okay, so I know it looks like nothing happened, but it did subtract it, and if we take a look at this in shades of gray, you will indeed see that it did subtract that out. Okay. So from this point, now let's go ahead and use our rotate gizmo. So I'm going to change it to that. Let's zoom out a little bit. We're going to select this shape first. I'll go ahead and select the red axis. I'm just going to stand it up. It's going to be my first one. So I'm going to click here above it. And then I'm going to do one more rotation by selecting this blue axis and come this direction. All right. So now that's done. Let's go ahead and next, let's deal with this shape here. Now, keep in mind that these two lines are closely related to each other, are about the same distance is what I meant to say. One of these lines is at 25 and the other one is at 30. So it's kind of hard for me to see which is which, but it will show up whenever you place it on here. So let's go ahead and select it here. I'm going to select the red axis first and then the blue axis and flip it this direction. Next, I'll go ahead and move this. So I'm just going to use the regular move command, which is located here. And I'm going to move it from this top endpoint and place it at this endpoint. Okay, so now I see that I got my lines are correct. If it was bleeding into here at the bottom, then I'd have had to rotate this shape. Let's do the exact same thing with this one. So I'm going to select it. I'll use the red axis first, come and click above it, and then the blue axis here and come and click to the right. Let's go ahead and move this into position. So I'll go to move. I'm going to go from this endpoint, and then I'm going to place it at this endpoint. Same principle apply. If it would have been bleeding through or down here at the bottom of this shape, then I could see that. And if I go to wireframe, here's another way where you can take a quick look at it. You will definitely see that it would be below this line here. So everything looks right. Let's go ahead and place this back. All right. Now let's go ahead and join this all together, right? So I'm going to use the union command, which is located here. And then I'm going to select all of these objects here. Okay, so if I've done it correctly, you see that that did disappear. Lastly, let's go ahead and put our shape here on the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and move this. And now the math tells me, and I do recall this, and it's directly on the drawing, but from this distance going back should be 25. Because I'm just going to subtract off the 10 that I have here in the front. So I'll go to move. I'm going to go ahead and select this object here. And then what I'm going to do is go from this bottom center. And let's zoom into here so you can see which center I'm actually using. So the very bottom center. And I'm going to place it at this midpoint. Okay, so once it's on there, now we can go ahead and use our move gizmo. I can select this ring here, select the green axis. I just want to pull back this direction and type in 25. All right, now let's go ahead and union this together. So I'll go to Union. I'm going to select all of these objects. All right, now they're together. And then the last thing I need to do is go ahead and put that fillet that's around here. That's going to be located underneath the solid, fillet edge, radius, set it to 2. And then I want you to select this bottom edge here. Go ahead and hit enter and give it one more enter to accept it. And now we do have that on, right? So the 3D portion of this is done now. Next thing we're able to do is go ahead and start doing the drafting portion, right? So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the drafting stuff since we did a lot of this in the last video, but I will make it quick. I'll try to kind of speed through it here, but hopefully not fast where you kind of lose the concept on it. All right, so I'm going to jump to Layout tab 1. I'll go ahead and delete this viewport. I'm going to create a rectangle, right? I'll come back to the home button here, use the rectangle command. I'm going to start it at 0, 0, hit enter, and the upper left should be at 11, 8.5. Go ahead and do an offset, which is just O enter, or you can look here and find the icon. Give it an offset of 0.25. Select that rectangle and then click to the inside. If you want to match up the paper, remember the way we do that, we can right click on Layout 1, go to Page Setup Manager. Once the dialog box appears, I'll choose Modify, DWG to PDF, ANSI Full Bleed, 11 by 8.5. I'll choose a window this time. You can use extent, but I'm just going to use a window. And what I'm going to use my window is I'm just going to select this inside rectangle endpoint here, going right across to the other one on the other side. I'm going to tell it that I want it to be centered, and we're going to use a 1:1 scale, so all of that is fine. If you want to print this out, you can set this equal to monochrome, and that way all of your layers and everything will print out as black. Go ahead and hit the OK button and then close. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose base. If you don't have this base here, I think another place where you can go and look for it is here underneath the Layout tab and go find the word base here. Okay, select in the drop down here and go from model space. This is where we're going to have to give it a second. It's going to be kind of digging around here in the back. The way that you know that it's ready to go is that usually when you move your cursor around, the 3D image will be following your cursor around. So I'm just going to give it here a couple of more seconds and it should be following. There it is. Okay, so now it's showing me right now the back. I want this to be the front side. And remember that we orientate this correctly. So it's oriented according to my drawing here. If it'll let me go ahead and select the front here. And it seems like it's trying to give me that as the front when that is actually the right side. Let's take a look and let me move this to the left side and see if this is actually what's going to give me. Okay. For some strange reason it's showing that the left, and I'll go back and click on to the other view just to verify this. But let's go ahead and make this the front view, and it should be able to change here in a second. So I'm going to make this the front view real quick. I'll go ahead and hit enter and then hit the escape button. Oh, it looks like I lost it. But regardless, I'm going to go back to the model space. Let me take a look at this, and it is correct. Okay. So if I click on here, that is the front view. Let me go ahead and rotate this to an isometric view. What I need this to be is facing in the correct orientation, just like when I did it in AutoCAD here on the 2D method. This is actually the front view. So I'm going to rotate my shape around just so it's rotated just like this. So I'll go back to here. In the drop down, I'll choose the rotate gizmo. I'll select my 3D part. I'll go with the blue axis, and it looks like I actually clicked the green one. the blue axis, rotate it this direction. Now everything is correct. All right, so that's the front side, that's the right side, and that's the top. Let's jump back over here to the layout tab. Let's go to layout. I'll go to base for model space, and now it's acting correctly. Okay, so I'll select here, go ahead and hit the enter button, come up and select that view, and then this one, and then go ahead and put an isometric here in the top corner. All right, go ahead and hit the enter button, and it should create all of those views. All right, so this is what I was meaning by when I was creating the isometrics in the other one. It is super duper hard to create this ring that goes around it. And let's go ahead and shade this a little bit better. So I'm going to select it and I'll go to edit view. And then underneath here, I'm just going to change it to visible lines. All right. And it looks like all it did was just put a little ring around it, but I guess I could have kind of did that now that I think about it. But okay, that's, you know, regardless of the point. Now on this one, the dimensions is super easy, super straightforward. And the way we can do this real quick is go to annotation. I'm going to select the drop down here. I can use the standard or the annotation. It doesn't matter since we're using model space here. I'm just going to go to modify, and I'll go through these kind of, you know, a little bit quicker. So I'll go to the primary units. Just go ahead and tell it to suppress the trailing zeros. Underneath the fit, we're going to leave that set to 1. The text, let's go ahead and make it a little smaller by 0.125. And then underneath the symbols and arrows, we're going to change that to none. Hit OK. And then hit close. Now these do look a little small for my taste. So I'm going to select this view here. I'll go to edit view. And then I want to make it just a little bit bigger, right? So it's sitting at 3/8 right now. Remember, if you go downward in the scale, that's what makes it a little bit bigger. So I'll make it 1/2. Go ahead and hit the OK button. I'm going to select this view here. Select the edit view. And this one we usually want to make smaller. So I'm just going to select here in the drop down. And then I'm going to make this one 3/8. All right, go ahead and hit the OK button. And then we should be ready for the dimensions. Okay. I can put the center marks on here. Just go to center marks. And then we can add center marks and things of that nature on here. I'm not really kind of going through and creating those layers as something I would normally do. But that's something you want to do. There are plenty of other videos where I've done that in. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and put a couple of center marks in here. And center lines. Okay, dimensions, straightforward. They're just linear dimensions. You've seen me do this with the other when I did this in 2D, but all I'm doing is selecting the 2 endpoints that I want. The same principle applies. So always remember that if you want that dimension to be here to the bottom, make that the last point you select. And on this one, like I said, I'm not going to waste too much time with this one. If you want to go ahead and go through and fully dimension this, that'll be something that's totally up to you. And at the end of this video, what I'll do is I'll just make sure I leave you with the other view so you can see all of the dimensions that are placed on here, right? Okay. But for what we needed, you can see that creating that 3D was kind of simple. I guess the hardest part of this is kind of figuring out what shapes to create and how to create them. Let's go ahead and jump back over to this just so you can see all the dimensions that you would be kind of required to put on the drawing. All right, so that's probably enough for this one. I want to thank you for hanging in with me and watching this long. I really do appreciate you if you stuck with me, and I also appreciate you subscribing and coming back to this channel. And as I enjoy doing it, I hope you enjoyed watching this one, and until next time.